All right, we're going to the birthday celebration of Japanese multimedia artist, uh, singer, songwriter, and peace activist Yoko Ono. Okay, we're going straight in to the early life of Yoko Ono now and family. Ono was born in Tokyo City on February 18th, 1933, to mother Isoko uh, Ono and father Aisuki Ono, uh, a wealthy banker and a former classical pianist. Isoko's adopted maternal grandfather, Zenjiro Yasuda, was an affiliate of the Yasuda clan and the Zaibatsu. Aisuki came from a long line of samurai warrior scholars. The kanji translation of Yoko means ocean child. Two weeks before Ono's birth, Aisuki was transferred to San Francisco, California, by his employer, Yokohama Specie Bank. Yeah, Yokohama Specie Bank. The rest of the families followed soon after. With Ono first meeting her father when she was 2 years old. She was 2 years old. Her younger brother Kaisuke was born in December of 1936. In 1937, the family was transferred back to Japan. That's where they're going back to. They're transferring back to Japan, and Ono enrolled in Tokyo's elite Gakushuin, uh, one of the most exclusive schools in Japan. Ono was enrolled in piano lessons from the age of 4 until the age of 12 or 13 years old. She attended kabuki performances with her mother, who was trained in shamisen, koto, at Katsuzumi, Naguta, and could read Japanese musical scores. The family moved to New York City. The family moved to New York City in 1940. The next year, Aisuki was transferred from the state in Hanoi to Hanoi. Uh, and the family returned to Japan. Ono was enrolled in Kaimi Gakuen, an exclusive Christian primary school run by the Mitsui family. She remained in Tokyo throughout the World War II and the firebombing of March 9th, 1945, during which she was sheltered with other family members in a special bunker in Tokyo Sabu district. Away from the heavy bombing, Ono later went to the Karuizawa mountain resort with members of her family. Starvation was rampant in the destruction that followed the Tokyo bombings. The Ono family was forced to beg for food. Well, they were homeless. While pulling their belongings in a wheelbarrow. Ono said it was during this period in her life that she developed her aggressive attitude and understanding of outsider status. Other stories tell of her mother bringing a large number of goods to the countryside where they were battered for food. In one anecdote, her mother traded a German-made sewing machine for 60 kilograms of rice to feed the family. During this time, Ono's father, who had been in Hanoi, was believed to be in a prisoner of war camp, a POW camp in China. Ono told Amy Goodman of Democracy Now! On October 16th, 2007, that he was in French Indochina, which is Vietnam in Saigon. He was in a concentration camp. After the war ended in 1945, Ono remained in Japan with her family, moved to the U.S. and settled in Scarsdale, New York. Paul Heyman is from Scarsdale, New York. Okay, Paul Heyman is from there. Paulie Dangerously, he was from Scarsdale, New York. Look at that town. Scarsdale is in New York. Paul Heyman is from there. Okay, it's an affluent town, 25 miles uh north of Midtown Manhattan. By April 1946, Gakushuin was reopened and Ono re-enrolled. The school, located near the Tokyo Imperial Palace, had not been damaged by the war. It was saved, and Ono found herself a classmate named what was this? A classmate of Prince Akihito. This Prince Akihito, he's an OG. The future emperor of Japan. At 14, she took up vocal training in leader singing. Leader singing. College in downtown beginnings. Ono graduated from Gakushuin in 1951 and was accepted into the philosophy program of Gakushuin University as the first woman to enter the department. However, she left the school after 2 semesters. But she had those 2 semesters left in it. Ono joined her family in New York in September 1952 and enrolled at a nearby Sarah Lawrence College. That's what it is. Sarah Lawrence College. Ono's parents approved of her college choice, but disapproved of her lifestyle, and chastised her for befriending people whom they felt they were beneath her. In 1956, Ono left college to elope with Toshi Ichiyanagi. Toshi Ichiyanagi, who was a Japanese composer, a star in Tokyo's experimental community, then studying in Juilliard. At Sarah Lawrence, she she studied poetry with Alistair Reid, you know, who had to be a Scottish poet and a scholar of South American literature, English literature with Catherine Mansell. Catherine Mansell in the music composition of with the Viennese trained Andre Singer. Ono has said that her heroes at this time were the 12-tone composers of Arnold Schoenberg and Alban Berg. She said, I was just fascinated with what they could do. I wrote some 12-tone songs, then my music went into an area that my teacher felt was really bit of track. He said, well, look, there are people who are doing things like what you do, and they're called avant-garde. Avant-garde. That's what it says. I heard that one. Singer introduced her to the work of Edgar Varese, John Cage, and Henry Cowell. Ono left college and moved to New York in 1957, the late 1950s, I hope, supporting herself through the secretarial work and lessons in the traditional Japanese arts of the Japan Society. Ono has often been associated with the Fluxus Group. The Fluxus Group, a loose association of Dada-inspired avant-garde artists, which was founded in the early 1960s by Lithuanian-American artist George Maciunas. Yeah, George Maciunas. Maciunas admired and enthusiastically promoted her work and gave Ono her first solo exhibition at his AG Gallery in New York in 1961. He formally moved. He formally not moved. He formally invited Ono to join Fluxus. Fluxus. He formally invited her to join Fluxus Fluxus. But she declined, but because she wanted to be remaining independent, which that she did. However, she did collaborate with the likes of Masseunis, Charlotte Moorman, George Brecht, and the poet Jackson Mac Lowe, among others associated with the group. Ono first met John Cage through his student Ichiyanagi. Yeah, Ichiyanagi Tochi. Let me go back to this. Ono had first met John Cage through his student Ichiyanagi Toshi in Cage's experimental composition class at the New School for Social Research. She was introduced to more of Cage's unconventional neo-Dadaism firsthand and via his New York City proteges like Alan Capral, Brecht Mac, Lowe, L. Hansen, and the poet Dick Higgins. That's Richard Higgins. Well, it's Dick Higgins. That's the real name. Dick Higgins. He was an American artist and a composer, art theorist, poet, publisher, and printmaker. And he was he was like the Fluxus co-founder. So after Cage finished teaching at the New School in the summer of 1960, Ono was determined to rent a place to present her works, along with the work of other avant-garde artists in the city. She eventually found in an inexpensive loft in downtown Manhattan at 112 Chambers Street. 112 Chambers Street, and used the apartment as a studio and living space. Also allowing Lamonte Young, who was a composer, to Lamonte Young. That's Lamonte Young. Uh, to organize those concerts in the loft. They both held a series of events there from December of 1960 through June of 1961. The events were attended by people such as Marcel Duchamp and Peggy Guggenheim. Yeah, the name looks so familiar. Peggy Guggenheim. Ono and Young both claimed that to have been the primary curator of these events, with Ono claiming to have been eventually pushed into the subsidiary role of Young. Ono presented work with only once during the series. In 1961, years before meeting the late John Lennon, Ono had her first major public performance in a concert at a 258 seat Carnegie Recital Hall. It's smaller than the main hall. This concert featured radical experimental music and performances. The Chambers Street series, hosted by some of Ono's earliest conceptual artwork, including painting to be stepped on, a scrap of canvas on the floor that became a completed artwork upon the accrual of footprints. With that work, Ono suggested that a work of art no longer needed to be mounted on a wall and inaccessible. She showed this work and other instructional work again at the Masseunis AG Gallery in July 1961. After Ono set a painting on fire at one performance that she was already there at, or she was there at, Cage advised her to treat the paper with flame retardant. She is credited for the album cover. For the album, that's for the art. She is credited for the album cover art for the album Nirvana Symphony by Toshiro Mayuzumi, released by Time Records in 1962. After living apart for several years, Ono and Ichiyanagi filed for what? They're not even together no more? I don't know why they had to break up. Yeah, they both filed for divorce in 1962. Ono and Ichiyanagi filed for divorce in 1962. That causes Ono to return home to move back with her family, her parents, to live with them again, and suffering from that clinical depression. She was briefly placed into some Japanese mental institution. November 1962. That's November 28th of 1962. Ono married Anthony Cox, who was an American jazz musician, film producer, and arts promoter who had been instrumental in securing her release from the mental institution that she was admitted in. Ono's second marriage Ono's second marriage was annulled on March 1st, 1963, because she had neglected to finalize her divorce from Ichianagi. After finalizing that divorce, Cox and Ono married again. They married again on June 6, 1963. She gave birth to their daughter, Kyoko Chan Cox. 2 months later, on August 8th of that year, the marriage quickly fell apart, but the couple continued working together. Yeah, that's what they do. Their marriage, they fell apart quickly. I did not even know why their marriage is gone. It's already dead. But the couple continued working together for the sake of their joint careers. They performed at the Sogetsu Hall in Tokyo, Japan, with Ono lying atop a piano played by John Cage. Soon the couple returned to New York with Kyoko. In the early years of the marriage, Ono left most of Kyoko's parenting to Cox, while she pursued her art full time, with Cox also managing the publicity that Ono would have. Ono had a second engagement at the Carnegie Recital Hall in 1965. In 1965, in which she debuted to Cut Piece. In September 1966, visited London and to meet, oh yeah, artist and political activist. I did not even know who this guy was. I never even heard of him. Gustav Metzger. His destruction in Art Symposium in September of 1966. She was the only woman artist chosen to perform her own events, and only one to join of the two could be invited to speak. Only one of the two could be invited to speak. She had premiered The Fog Machine during her concert of music for the mind at the Blue Coat Society in Arts, Liverpool, England, in the late 1960s, 1967. That's what it was. Ono and Cox divorced on February 2nd. That's early 1969, and she married John Lennon, who had passed away. Later that same year, during a 1971 custody battle, Cox disappeared with their 8-year-old daughter, Kyoko. He won custody. He won the custody after what the custody he won. He won it after successfully claiming that Ono was an unfit mother. Oh no. No, 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 he didn't. No, he didn't. No, he didn't call her an unfit mom. Jesus Christ. Cox disappeared with their 8-year-old daughter. He won custody. He won the custody after successfully claiming that Ono was an unfit mother due to her drug use. Nobody else even told me that she was on drugs. But Ono's ex-husband had changed him and Ono's name, him and Ono's daughter's name to the Ruth Holman character, the Ruth Holman name. That alias, that why go change that name illegally to what? Ruth Holman? That's like a disguise name. Looks like a cover name. and subsequently raised the girl in an organization known as the Church of the Living Word, or the Walk, or the Walk. Ono and Lennon searched for Kyoko for years, but to no avail. No avail. She would finally see Kyoko again in 1998. It's her relationship with John Lennon. Yoko Ono's first contact is with any member of the Beatles occurred when she visited Paul McCartney. Let's see, I'll get the name. Sir Paul McCartney, James Paul McCartney, at his home in London to obtain a Lennon McCartney song manuscript for a book John Cage was working on notations. Notations. McCartney declined to give her any of his manuscripts, but suggested that Lennon might have obliged. Lennon later gave Ono the original handwritten lyrics to the word. Ono and Lennon first let I forgot. Ono and Lennon first met in November 7, 1966. This was after my mother was born. But it was at the this was at the Indica Gallery that was in London, where she was preparing unfinished paintings, her conceptual art exhibit. About interactive painting and sculpture, they were introduced by the gallery owner named by the name of John Dunbar. One piece ceiling painting, yes, painting, had a ladder painted white with a magnifying glass at the top. When Lennon climbed the ladder, he looked he started looking through the magnifying glass and was able to read the word yes, which was written in a miniature. He greatly enjoyed this experience as it was a positive message, as well. Whereas most concept art he encountered at the time was everything. Anti everything. Lennon was so. That's what happened. Lennon was also intrigued by what was it that what John Lennon was doing. Yes, he was also intrigued by Ono's hammer a nail, where viewers were invited to hammer a nail into a wooden board painted white. Painted white. Although the exhibition was had not yet been opened yet. Yeah, that's what have the exhibition. Although the exhibition it had not yet opened, they never even opened it up. Lennon, that's what happened. Lennon, John Lennon wanted to hammer a nail into the clean board, but Ono stopped him from doing so. Dunbar started asking her, "Don't you know who this is? He's a millionaire. He might buy it." Ono feigned not knowing any of the Beatles. Uh, even if she had gone to see Sir James Paul McCartney, asking for a song score that was from one of the members of the Beatles, but relented on the condition that Lennon might pay her 5 shillings. To which Lennon replied, "I'll give you an imaginary 5 shillings and hammer an imaginary nail in." In a 2002 interview, Ono said, "I was very attracted to him. It was a really strange situation." Ono started writing to Lennon, sending him her conceptual artworks, and soon the two began corresponding. In September of 1967, Lennon sponsored Ono her solo half a wind show at the Listen Gallery. They had the Listen Gallery in London. When Cynthia, Lennon's wife and widow, you know, she was asking for an explanation of why Ono was telephoning them at home. He told her that Ono was only trying to obtain money for her avant-garde bullshit. In early 1968, while the Beatles were making their visit to India, everybody knows there's gonna be some avant-garde bullshit there. In early 1968, while the Beatles were making their visit to India, Lennon wrote the song Julia and included a reference to "Oh No, Ocean Child Calls Me," referring to the translation of Yoko's Japanese spelling. What is it? The Japanese spelling, a translation to the Japanese spelling that Yoko had learned. In May of 1968, while his wife was on holiday in Greece, Lennon invited Ono to visit. They spent the night recording a selection of the avant-garde tape loops, the loops of the avant-garde tape, after which he said they made love at dawn. The recordings made by the two during the session ultimately became their first collaborative album, the music Concrete Work, Unfinished Music, number one, Two Virgins. When Lennon's wife returned home, she found Ono wearing her bathrobe and drinking tea with Lennon. Ho simply said, "Oh, hi." On September 24th and 25th of 1968, Lennon wrote and recorded Happiness is a Warm Gun, which contains sexual references to Ono. Ono became pregnant, but she suffered the miscarriage of a male child on late 1968. A few weeks later, Lennon's divorce from Cynthia was granted on December 12th, 1968. Well, this was months after Martin Luther King Jr. have gotten assassinated on April 4th of that year, 1968. Lennon and Ono participated in the BBC documentary The Rolling Stones Rock and Roll Circus. Yeah, the Rolling Stones Rock and Roll Circus. Why we call it the Rolling Stones Rock and Roll Circus? Let's along with these things here. Let's along with these other high profile musicians. Lennon had performed his Beatles composition Your Blues towards the end with an improvised vocal performance by Ono rounding out the set. The film would not be released until 1996 due to the death of the Rolling Stones founding member Brian Jones. It's Brian Jones right here. He passed away years ago. A few months after it was shot. Early collaborations and oh shit. My hands fucked up. Oh, my hands fucked up. Early collaborations, marriage embeddings, if we go fine. During the final 2 years of the Beatles, Lennon and Ono attended public protests against the Vietnam War. They showed me that. They showed me the little video where they had to be protesting. It was in the Parliament Funkadelic One Nation Under a Groove documentary. They showed that. They already showed that in '05. They collaborated on a series of avant-garde recordings beginning in 1968 with the Unfinished Music Volume 1, Two Virgins. Those two can be virgins. Which notoriously featured in an unretouched image the two artists nude on the front cover. Yeah, they're naked on the front cover. I did not know that. The same year, the couple contributed an experimental sound collage to the Beatles, self-titled White Album. Yeah, the White Album, called Revolution 9, with Ono contributing additional vocals to like Birthday and one lead vocal line on the continuing story of Bungalow Bill. marking the only occasion in a Beatles recording in which a woman sings lead vocals. On March 20th of 1969, there it is, March 20th of that year there, 1969, Lennon and Ono were married at the registry office in Gibraltar, and spent their honeymoon in Amsterdam, campaigning with a week long bed in for peace. They planned another bed in the U.S., but were denied entry to the country. They were held one instead at the Queen the hotel. Well, it's named after Queen the late Queen Elizabeth. That's the Queen Elizabeth Hotel. This is the Queen Elizabeth Hotel. It's called the Fairmont Queen Elizabeth Hotel. That was in Montreal, Canada. Well, where they recorded "Give Peace a Chance." Lennon had later stated his regrets about feeling guilty enough to give McCartney credit as a co-writer on my first independent single, instead of giving it to Yoko, who had actually written it with me. Oh, it's probably John Lennon. That's his talk. That's his saying about it. The couple often what is it? They said the couple often combined advocacy with performance art such as the bagism, that's what word is, bagism, first introduced during a Vienna press conference. Yeah, the Vienna press conference where what's it say? They satirized prejudice and stereotyping by wearing a bag over their entire bodies. Lennon detailed this period in the Beatles song "The Ballad of John and Yoko." During the Amsterdam bed press conference. Yeah, during the Amsterdam bed and press conference, Yoko had also earned controversy in the Jewish community for claiming during the press conference that if I was a Jewish girl in Hitler's day, I would approach him and become his girlfriend after 10 days in bed. He would come to my way of thinking. My way of thinking. This world needs communication, and making love is a great way of communicating. It was acknowledged that some Nazis, including Nazi First Lady Magda Goebbels, that's what it is, Magda Goebbels, had Jewish lovers at that point in their lives. This woman has Jewish lovers. This woman has Jewish guys. You know what I mean? For no reason. Lennon changed his name by deed on April 22nd of 1969, switching out Winston for Ono as a middle name. Although, what the hell he just used? He just used the name. Oh, he used that name for no reason. I don't know why he used that name. Oh yeah, John Ono Lennon. That's the name, John Ono Lennon. That's what he used it. That's what it's referring to. After that, the official documents refer to him as John Winston. Yeah, John Winston Ono Lennon. That name. Oh God. The couple settled at Tittenhurst Park, as we named it for Tittenhurst Park. Okay, it's at Sunninghill, Berkshire, at southeast England. When Ono was injured in a car accident, Lennon arranged for a king-size bed to be brought to the recording studio as he's working on the Beatles' last recorded album, Abbey Road. There's the stuff that is the shit that you want to fucking find here. The Plastic Ono Band. After the ballad of John and Yoko, Lennon and Ono decided that it would be better to form their own band to release their newer, more personally representative work, rather than release the material as the Beatles. To this end, they formed the Plastic Ono Band. Yeah, the Plastic Ono Band, a name coined by Lennon after Ono's use of plastic stands for recording purposes. The name had been earlier attached to a sound and light installation conceived by Ono, which had been installed in the Apple press office. Was it Apple? Apple press office. The installation consisted, was it? Yeah, the installation consisted of four perspex columns, each representing, that's what it says. That's what it said. Each representing a member of the Beatles, with one holding a tape recorder and amplifier. The second a closed circuit TV and camera. The third is a recorder player and amplifier, and the fourth a miniature light show and the loudspeaker. July of 1969, Lennon's first solo single, "Give Peace a Chance," was the first release to be credited to the Plastic Ono Band. It was followed in October by Cold Turkey. The singles were followed in December by the group's first album, Live Peace in Toronto. Oh yeah, Live Peace. What is it? Live Peace in Toronto, 1969, which had been recorded live at the Toronto Rock and Roll Festival. Was it the Rock and Roll, the Toronto Rock and Roll Revival? Is that a revival? That's probably a festival they had in September. That sounding name is what the name they used. The Toronto Rock and was it the Toronto what's the name? The Toronto Rock and Roll Revival Festival. That was what it's recorded at. It's probably in September of that year in 1969. This incarnation of the group also consisted of guitarist Eric Clapton. And I remember this guy. He was this guy was this guy might be a guitarist. Bass player Klaus Vorman. That's Klaus Vorman. That's Klaus Vorman, and drummer Alan White. He was an English drummer. The first half of their performance consisted of rock standards. During the second half, Ono took to the microphone and performed at two original feedback-driven compositions like Don't Worry, Kyoko," and John, Let's Hope for Peace. Was it? Constituting, constituting, I forgot the word. Again, constituting the entirety of the second half of the live album or live album. This right here. Ono released her first solo album, Yoko Ono Plastic Ono Band, in 1970. That's what Ono did. She was releasing her first solo album. That's the one that she came out with. Her first solo album, Yoko Ono Plastic Ono Band, in 1970, as a companion piece to Lennon's John Lennon Plastic. Was it? Was it? As a comparison, not comparison, as a companion piece to Lennon's John Lennon Plastic Ono Band. The two albums, they also had the companion covers. They just go to bed with each other every single chance. Ono's featured a photo of her learning. Was it learning? Her leaning on Lennon, and Lennon's photo of him leaning on Ono. Her album is including some raw, harsh vocals, and which bore a similarity with the sounds in nature. especially those made by animals, and free jazz techniques used by wind and brass players, performed including Ornette Coleman. Yeah, this guy, Randolph Denard Ornette Coleman. Well, no relation to me. Other renowned free jazz performers and Ringo Starr. Some songs on the albums consisted of the wordless vocalizations that they had in a style that they would have influenced Meredith Monk. Meredith Monk was one of those women who was a composer, performer, and director of vocals, a filmmaker, and choreographer from back in those days. And other musical artists who have used screams and the vocal noise instead of the words. Album reached number 182 on the US charts when Lennon was invited to play with Frank Zappa at the Fillmore. On June 5th, 1971, Ono joined them. Later that year, she released Fly. She released a double album called Fly. In it, she explored slightly a more conventional psychedelic rock with the tracks including Midsummer New York, and Mine Train, in addition to a number of Fluxus experiments. Those experiments that came from Fluxus, Fluxus, Fluxus. She also received minor airplay with the ballad "Mrs. Lennon." The track Don't Worry, Kyoko." That was like an ode to Ono's missing daughter, and featured Eric Clapton in a guitar on that year while studying with the Maharishi Mahesh Yogi. That's what the name is, Maharishi Mahesh Yogi. That name is there. In Majorca, Spain, Ono's ex-husband Anthony Cox accused Ono of abducting their daughter Kyoko from the kindergarten. They reached it reached out it reached an out of court agreement, and the charges were dismissed. They were never filed. Cox eventually moved away with Kyoko. Ono would not see her daughter until 1998. During this time, she wrote "Don't Worry, Kyoko," which also appears on Lennon and Ono's album Lib Peace in Toronto, 1969. In addition to Fly, Kyoko is also referenced in the first line of "Happy Christmas, the war is over." When Yoko whispers "Happy Christmas, Kyoko," followed by Lennon whispering "Happy Christmas, Julian." Wow. Wow. Happy Christmas, Julian. Wow. The song reached number 4 in the UK, where its release, delayed until 1972, has a periodically re-emerged in UK singles chart, originally a protest song about the Vietnam War. "Happy Xmas, War is Over" has since become a Christmas standard. That August, the couple appeared together at a benefit in Madison Square Garden in New York with Roberta Flack, right here, this Roberta Flack, Stevie Wonder, and Shanana. What was that, Shanana? Yeah, that's them. For mentally disabled children, organized by WABC TV's Corrado Rivera. In a 2018 issue of Portland Magazine, editor Colin W. Sargent writes of interviewing Yoko, and while she was visiting Portland, Maine in 2005, she spoke of driving along the coast with Lennon and dreamed of buying a house in Maine. We talked excitedly in the car. We were looking for a house on the water. We did examine the place. We kept driving north along the water until I don't remember the name of the town. We went quite a ways up, actually, because it was so beautiful. In 1973, Ono recorded a single, Josei Joy Banzai, Josei Joy Banzai, parts 1 and 2, with musicians billed as the Plastic Ono Band and the Elephant's Memory, and released it only in Japan. She cheered feminism by combining the lyrics inspired by the Japanese war songs with pop rhythms, signaling a new direction. There's separation and reconciliation. The Beatles. After the Beatles disbanded in 1970, Ono and Lennon lived together in London and then moved permanently to Manhattan to escape tabloid racism towards Ono. Their relationship became strained because Lennon was facing deportation due to drug charges and that had been filed against him in England. And because of Ono's separation from Kyoko Cox, her daughter, the couple separated in July of 1973, with Ono pursuing her career and Lennon living in between Los Angeles and New York. That's the West Coast and the East Coast, with a personal assistant named Mei Pang. That's the name. Mei Fung Yi Pang. That's the name. Mei Young Fi Pang. That's her. Mei Fung Yi Pang. That's uh that's the personal assistant to to John Lennon and Yoko Ono. Ono had given her blessing to Lennon and Pang's relationship. What did Ono do? She had given her blessing to the relationship of John Lennon, and their personal assistant, Mei Pang. By December of 1974, that's what it is. By December of 1974, Lennon and Pang considered buying a house together, and he refused to accept Ono's phone calls. No wonder he doesn't even answer the phone. The next month, Lennon agreed to meet Ono, who claimed to have found a cure for smoking. After the meeting, Lennon failed to return home or call Pang. When she telephoned the next day, Ono told her that Lennon was unavailable. Lennon was unavailable. John Lennon. He was unavailable because he was exhausted after a hypnotherapy session. A hypnotherapy session. 2 days later, Lennon reappeared at a joint dental appointment with Pang. He was stupefied and confused to such an extent that Pang believed that he had been brainwashed. Really brainwashed? He told her his separation from Ono was now over, though Ono would allow him to continue seeing her as his mistress. Yeah, God. Ono and Lennon's son Sean, that's Sean, was born on October the night of 1975, Lennon's 35th birthday following the birth of Sean. Both Lennon and Ono took a hiatus from the music industry, with Lennon becoming a stay-at-home dad to care for his infant son Sean. Sean followed in in John and Yoko's footsteps. With a career in music, he performs the solo work, works with Ono, and formed a band called the Ghost of a Saber-Toothed Tiger. The return to music and and the murder of John Lennon. In early 1980, Lennon heard Lenny Lovitch, who's that? Lenny Lovitch, and the B-52's Rock Rock Lobster. That's the name, Rock Lobster. What's the word? While on vacation in Bermuda, the latter reminded him of Ono's musical sound, and he took this as an indication that she had reached the mainstream. The band had, in fact, been influenced by Yoko Ono herself. On the evening of December 8, 1980, Lennon and Ono were at the record plant studio working on Ono's song "Walking on Thin Ice." When they returned to the Dakota, their home in Manhattan, New York, Lennon was shot dead. That's right, John Lennon was shot dead by the assailant, who goes by the name of Mark David Chapman. Mark David Chapman. This could be it could be his killer, who happened to be a fan of the Beatles, who had been stalking who been stalking John Lennon for fucking months. This son of a bitch, Mark Chapman. This guy's been stalking John Lennon for at least months. For months. Even two of them. Hoping to God Mark David Chapman could be put away for murder. Like the one he did, like uh like 43 years ago. It's like the murder that he had of John Lennon like 43 years ago. Let me tell you this shit here. John Lennon has been dead for 43 years. Okay? This is a picture of them shortly before Lennon was killed. This is before John Lennon was killed on December 8th uh uh of 1980. This is the last picture they have of John Lennon and Yoko Ono. So, Walking on Thin Ice for John was released as a single less than a month later and became Ono's first chart success, peaking at number 58 and gaining significant underground airplay. Underground airplay. In 1981, she released the album Season of Glass. Season of was it the Season of Glass, or that she released the album, in which featured the striking cover photo of Lennon's bloody spectacles next to a half-filled glass of water, with a window overlooking Central Park. In the background, this photograph sold at an auction in London in April of 2002 for about $13,000. In the liner notes to Season of Glass, Ono explained that the album was not dedicated to Lennon because he would have been offended. He was one of us. The album received highly was receiving. The album, it did receive about highly favorable favorable reviews and all that. It reflected the public's mood after Lennon's assassination. Well, it's been 41 years later. It's all gonna be something. In 1982, she released "It's All Right." The cover featured Ono in her wraparound sunglasses, looking towards the sun, while on the back, the ghost of Lennon looks over her and their son. The album scored minor chart success with the airplay with the single "Never Say Goodbye." In 1984, a tribute album called it's a title "Every Man Has a Woman" was released, featuring a selection of songs written by Ono, performed by artists such as Elvis Costello, Roberta Flack, Eddie Money, Rosanna Cash, Harry Nilsson. Later that year, Ono and Lennon, their final album, Milk and Honey, Milk and Honey, their final album was released as a mixture of the unfinished Lennon recordings. The unfinished recordings that John Lennon had done, the recordings that John Lennon couldn't be able to finish. It's from that double fantasy sessions and the new recordings that was for Yoko Ono. It kind of peaked at the number three in the UK, and then it was like number 11 in the United States. United States though, it was going gold in both countries as well in Canada. So Ono had funded the construction and the maintenance of Strawberry Fields Memorial in Manhattan's Central Park, directly across from the Dakota, which was the scene of the murder and the remains Ono's residence to this day. It was officially dedicated to on the October 9th, 1985. It's October. It's this what it dedicated to. It's dedicating to October 9th, 1985, which would have been his 45th birthday. Ono's final album of the 1980s, it was the old school shit. Yoko Ono would have done something else. Her final album of the 80s, that was like Star Piece, that was a concept album. It looks like a concept album that she had intended as an antidote to that Star Wars missile defense system that was in the hands of former President former President Ronald Reagan. Ronald Reagan, the former US president. That's his Star Wars missile defense system that was all on the cover. A warm, smiling Ono holds the earth in the palm of her hand. Star Piece became Ono's most successful non Lennon effort. The single Hell in Paradise was a hit, reaching number 16 on the US dance charts on number 26 on the Billboard Hot 100. And the video is directed by Zbigniew Rybczynski. That's the name? Zbigniew Rybczynski. That's the name? Zbigniew Rybczynski. That's probably his name. That guy who's directing that video was received for what? Major airplay on MTV. And it gained some sort of notoriety and won the most innovative video at the Billboard Music Video Awards in 1986. Around 1986, what would Ono just do? She set out on a goodwill tour, goodwill world tour that was for a Star Piece, primarily Eastern European countries. Resurgence. There's collaborations that in 1990, Ono collaborated with a music consultant named Jeff Pollock. This Jeff Pollock was a music consultant to honor what would have been Lennon's 50th birthday with a worldwide broadcast imagine over 1,000 stations in over 50 countries participated in the simultaneous broadcast. Ono felt the only timing was perfect. She felt that the timing was perfect, considering the escalating conflicts that happened in the Middle East, in Eastern Europe, and in Germany. Let me see. Let me check. I ain't gonna go to Tubi right now. I'm busy. Ono went on a musical hiatus following the release of Star Piece until she signed with Rykodisc in 1992 and released the comprehensive. Oh, that's what she releasing. The comprehensive six disc box set. Oh yeah, the six CD box set of Ono box. A 6 disc box set. Ono box. Damn. Why she named it? Why she naming it that? The box set included remastered highlights from Ono's solo albums and previously unreleased material from the 1974 Lost Weekend sessions. She also released a 1 disc sampler of the highlights from Ono Box. It's from Ono Box, simply titled Walking on Thin Ice that year. She sat down for an exclusive, not exclusive, for an extensive interview with a music journalist by the name of Mark Kemp. That's right, Mark Kemp, for a cover story. In the alternative music magazine, Option took Option had the story. It had the story. The story kind of took this revisionist look at Ono's music and it's for a new generation of audience members, fans, more accepting of her role as a pioneer in the merger of pop and the avant-garde. The avant-garde. In 1994, well, it's the early 90s, so 1994, Ono produced her own off-Broadway musical entitled New York Rock. New York Rock is which featured Broadway renditions of her songs. In 1995, she released Rising, a collaboration with her son Sean and his then band Ema. Rising spawned a world tour that traveled through Europe, Japan, and US. The following year, she collaborated with various alternative rock musicians for an EP entitled Rising Mixes. Guest remixers of Rising material including Sibo, Mato, Wayne, Tricky, and Thurston Moore. In 1997, that's the late 90s, Rykodisc reissued Ono's catalog of solo recordings on CD from Yoko Ono Plastic Ono Band through Starpiece. Ono and her engineer Rob Stevens personally remastered the audio and various bonus tracks that were added, including outtakes, demos, and live cuts. In the same year, Ono and the BMI Foundation, this BMI, that's BMI, uh, established an annual music competition program for songwriters of contemporary, was it? Yeah, it did establish an annual music competition program for the songwriters of contemporary musical genres to honor the memory of John Lennon and his creative legacy. His large creative legacy is over $350,000 has been given through the BMI Foundation's, what do you call it, John Lennon scholarships to the talented young musicians. The talented young musicians. These people they're like in the states. They're in the U.S. They're making it one of the most respected awards for the emerging songwriters. In 2000, she founded the John Lennon Museum in Saitama, Japan. It's in Saitama. It's in Japan, which housed over 130 pieces of Lennon's and Beatles memorabilia from Ono's private collection. In 2010, the museum was closed. The museum was closed. Until then, Ono and her feminist concept album Blueprint for Sunrise. In 2001, it was released a month after the September 11th attacks. Ono organized the concert "Come Together," a night for John Lennon's words and music at Radio City Music Hall. Yeah, yeah, that's what's taking place at Radio City Music Hall. That's what he named it. Radio City Music Hall. Yeah, that's what they did. It's hosted by the actor. It's probably hosted by Kevin Spacey. There's a guy. He was featured in one of in this Call of Duty Advanced Warfare game. I respected Kevin Spacey and his accomplishments. He was featured in the Call of Duty Advanced Warfare game. He was in my game. I played as a model player trying to save his character and pull him up to safety. That's where the Call of Duty Advanced Warfare game had given some sort of juice ending. You know, same happened with Omar Epps and same happened with Omar Epps and Tupac. It happened with Tupac and Omar Epps. It happened with them, but as compared to me saving this guy's life. Yep, Radio City Music Hall. Yeah, Kevin Spacey was hosting that concert, and it's featuring Lou Reed. He's featuring Lou Reed. There's Lou Reed here, who was there's Lewis Reed, uh, Cindy Lauper, and Nelly Furtado. It raised money for the September 11th relief efforts. It was previously aired on TNT um and the WB, which was now the CW, which was now the CW. Uh, his later life and dance chart hits in the early 2000s. Ono joined the B-52s in New York for their 25th. Oh, I forgot. For their 25-year anniversary concerts, the 25th anniversary concerts. She came out for the encore and performed their song Rock Lobster. Well, that happened in 2002. With the band in March of that year, she was present with Charlie Blair. Not Cherie, I forgot. Not Charlie Blair. I got the wrong name. I got the name all wrong here. Cherie Blair. Cherie Blair, who's known as Cherie Boot. It was at the unveiling of a 7-foot statue of the late John Lennon to mark the renaming of Liverpool Airport to Liverpool John Lennon Airport, beginning in 2003. It's been 20 years. Some DJs remixed other Ono songs for the dance clubs for the remix project. She dropped her first name and became known simply as Ono in response to the "oh no" jokes that kind of dogged her and started dogging her throughout her career. Ono had great success with the new versions of Walking on Thin Ice remixed by the top DJs and dance artists, including Pet Shop Boys, Orange Factory, Peter Rawhofer, and Danny Tenaglia. In April of that year, Ono's Walking on Thin Ice remixes had it was rated number one on the Billboard Dance Club play chart, getting Ono her first number one hit. She would have a second number one hit on the same chart in late 2004 with Every Man, Every Woman, a reworking of her song Every Man Has a Woman Who Loves Him. During the Liverpool Biennial in 2004, Ono flooded the city. She flooded the city with those two images on the banners, bags, stickers, postcards, flyers, uh, posters, and badges. One of a woman's naked breast, the other of the same model's vulva. During her stay in Lennon's city of birth, she said she was astounded by the city's renaissance. The piece titled "My Mummy Was Beautiful." It was dedicated to Julia, uh, Lennon's mom, who had passed away when he was a teen. Yeah, one woman who had died when Lennon was a teenager was Julia. According to Ono, the work was meant to be innocent, not shocking. She was attempting to replicate the experience of a baby looking up to its mother's body. Those parts of the mother's body being a child's introduction to humanity. Ono performed at the opening ceremony at the 2006 Winter Olympic Games in Turin, Italy. In Turin, Italy. It's in Italy. It's in I think it was Turin, Italy. Like many of the other performers during the ceremony, she wore white to symbolize. She wore white just to symbolize the snow of winter. She reads a free verse poem calling for world peace. It's an introduction to performance of Imagine that came from Peter Gabriel, who was an English musician, singer, and songwriter, and record producer and activist. On December 13th of 2006, one of Ono's bodyguards was arrested after he was allegedly taped trying to extort $2 million from from Ono herself. The tapes revealed that he had threatened to release private conversations and photographs. His bail, they revoked this guy's bail. They were revoking that guy's bail. They were revoking the hell out of it. And he pleaded not guilty to 2 counts of attempted grand larceny on, was it, February 16th, 2007. A deal was reached where the extortion charges were dropped, and he pleaded guilty to attempted grand larceny in the third degree, a felony, and was sentenced to the 60 days that he had already spent in jail. After reading an unapologetic statement, he was released to immigration officials because he had also been found guilty of overstaying his business visa. Yeah, overstaying that visa, a business visa that the bodyguard had. He had that visa. Yeah, he'd been found guilty. The bodyguard was found guilty of overstaying that business visa of his, that business visa card of his. I just I hope he gets immigrated. I hope he gets uh, I hope he gets deported. Ono released an album is called Yes, I'm a Witch. In early 2007, a collection of remixes and covers from her back catalog by various artists, including the Flaming Lips, Cat Power, Anoni, Anani, what's it? Anohni, DJ Spooky, Porcupine Tree, and Peaches, along with a special edition of Yoko Ono Plastic Ono Band, Yes, I'm a Witch, was critically well received. A similar compilation of Ono dance remixes entitled Open Your Box was also released in April of that year. In April of that year. On June of 26, 2007, Ono appeared on Larry King Live. This show that's already not even on CNN no more. That show's been going up. That show's been kicked out of CNN. There's Larry King Live. That show's been canceled since 2010. Larry King Live. Yoko Ono appeared on that show along with the likes of Sir James Paul McCartney. You got Ringo Starr and Olivia Harrison. Olivia Harrison, that's George Harrison's wife, I think. Probably George Harrison's widow. Yeah, George Harrison. I know George Harrison had been died. All he leaves behind is his widow, Olivia Harrison. Yep, yeah, Yoko Ono appeared on Larry King Live along with the likes of Paul McCartney, Ringo Starr, and widow of one of the members. That'd be Olivia Harrison, the widow of one of their members, George Harrison. He's no longer with us. She headlined Yoko headlined the Pitchfork Music Festival, the PMF, the Pitchfork Music Festival in Chicago, Illinois, on July 14th of 2007, performing a full set that mixed music and performance art that she has sang Mulberry. I heard that. I already heard that. I heard that on while I was playing the Assassin's Creed Syndicate game. Bald headed guy howling about singing about Mulberry Bush. Yep, she sang Mulberry, a song about her time in the countryside after the Japanese collapse in the World War II. Yeah, in World War II, for only the third time ever with Thurston Moore. Thurston Moore had was already yeah, Thurston Moore was with Yoko most of the time. She had previously performed a song with John and Sean. It was with her son Sean on October 9th of that year. On October 9th of that year, the Imagine Peace Tower on the was it Viday Island? Oh yeah, the Island. That's what it says. The Viday Ida. Was it the Viday Island in Iceland? Oh, it's dedicated. It's dedicated. That's what it has. It's a dedication to peace and to Lennon. Was turned on with her, Sean, Ringo, and Olivia in attendance. Each year between October 9th and December 8th, it projects a verbal beam of light into the sky. Ono returned to Liverpool for the 2008 Liverpool Biennial, where she unveiled skyladders in the ruins of Church of St. Luke. Yep, 2 years later, on late March of 2009, she went to the inauguration of the exhibition Imagine the Peace Ballad of John and Yoko to mark the 40th anniversary of the Lennon Ono Bed In at the Queen Elizabeth Hotel in Montreal, Canada from May 26th to June 2nd, 1969. Yeah, that's right. May and June of 1969, the hotel had been doing steady business. With the room that they stayed in for over what 40 years. That year became that year that year Ono became a grandmother when Emmy was born to her daughter Kyoko. Ono had further dance club chart number one hits with the No 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 in January of '08 and Give Peace a Chance uh the following August in June of 2009 at the age of 76. Ono scored her fifth number one hit on the dance club play chart with I'm Not Getting Enough. In May 2009, she designed a t-shirt for the second Fashion Against AIDS campaign and collection of HIV/AIDS awareness. NGO designers against AIDS and H&M with the statement Imagine Peace depicted in 21 languages. Ono appeared on stage at Microsoft's June 1st, 2009 E3 Expo press conference with the widow of the late George Harrison, Olivia Harrison. Paul McCartney, who's still alive, Ringo Starr, to promote the Beatles' rock band video game, which was universally praised by the critics. Ono appeared on the Basement Jaxx album Scars, featuring on the single "Day of the Sunflowers," the "We March On." In the same year, she became an honorary uh, patron to Elder Hate Charity and created an exhibit called John Lennon, the New York City Years for the NYC Rock and Roll Hall of Fame Annex. The exhibit used music, photographs, and personal items to that's what it is. What is this using? What this exhibit is using then? It's using music, it's using photographs, and it has personal items to depict Lennon's life in New York. In New York, a portion of the cost of each ticket was donated to Spirit Foundation, a charitable foundation set up and founded by Lennon and Ono. Yeah, this one. 2009, Ono recorded Between My Head and Sky, which was her first album to release. Her first album to be released is Yoko Ono Plastic Ono Band in 1973's Feeling the Space. The all-new Plastic Ono band lineup including Sean Lennon, Cornelius, and Yuka Honda. On February 16th of 2010, Yoko and John's son Sean had organized a concert at the BAM, the Brooklyn Academy of Music. The Brooklyn Academy of Music is called. We Are Plastic Ono Band, at which Yoko performed her music with Sean. There's Clapton, Klaus Bormann, and Jim Keltner for the first time since the 1970s, including actress Bette Midler, uh, Paul Simon, yes, Paul Simon, and his son Harper Simon, and the principal members of the Sonic Youth and the Scissor Sisters. The Scissor Sisters interpreted her songs in their own styles of music. On April the 1st of that year, she was named the first global autism ambassador. What's it say? Global autism ambassador. Ambassador. Was it GAA? Global autism ambassador. It's by the autism. It's already there by the Autism Speaks organization. It's an organization that's called Autism Speaks. I think that's what it came from. It was by them. Uh, she had created an artwork the year before the autism awareness and allowing it to be auctioned off in the 67 parts to benefit the organization. The organization in April 2010, yeah, it's around the year April 2010, RCRDLBL made billable free downloads of the "I'm Not Getting Enough" song. That was a mix from the Junior Boys, a single that originally released about 10 years prior on a Blueprint for a Sunrise. That song and Wouldn't It released September 14th. That means I'm a star. Uh, Made it to Billboard's end of the year list of favorite dance club songs. It's number 23 and number 50, respectively. That's separation. Ono appeared with Star on the July 7th at the NY in New York City radio. Was it? Oh yeah, the Radio City Music Hall in New York in celebration of Star's 70th birthday. They had to do that in the celebration of the 70th birthday of Ringo Starr from the Beatles. performing the song called "With a Little Help from My Friends" and "Give Peace a Chance." On September 16th of 2010, she and Sean attended the opening of Julian Lennon's photo exhibition at the Morrison Hotel in New York, appearing for the first time photos with Cynthia and Julian. Well, who knows that? She also promoted his work on her website on October 2nd. On October 2nd, Ono and the Plastic Ono Band performed at the Orpheum Theater in LA with guest Lady Gaga, whom she deeply admires. In early 2011, as her 78th birthday here, Ono took out a full-page advert in the UK free newspaper Metro for Imagine Peace 2011. It took the form of an open letter inviting people to think of and wish for peace. With Sean, her son, with Sean, who was their son. Well, she held a benefit concert. She held that concert, a benefit concert, to aid in relief efforts. The efforts, that's what it is, in the relief efforts for an earthquake and tsunami ravaged Japan. Japan was ravaged by an earthquake and a tsunami. I did not even know that. That happened on March 27th of 2011. March 27th, 2011. That was in New York. Uh, it's in New York. It's in New York. The effort raised a total of $33,000. The same year, Move On Fast. Move On Fast became that second that's consecutive number one hit. That's number six. That's the number six hit that she had, the consecutive number. What is Move On? What's Move On Fast? What is Move On Fast mean? That's what it's becoming of. Her sixth consecutive number one hit in the Billboard Hot Dance Club Songs chart. And her eighth number one hit, overall, she collaborated with the Flaming Lips, on an EP entitled "The Flaming Lips" with Yoko Ono, Plastic Ono Band. In July 2011, she visited Japan to support uh, earthquake and tsunami victims and tourism to the country. During her visit, Ono gave a lecture and performance entitled "The Road of Hope" at Tokyo's Mori Art Museum, during which she painted a large calligraphy piece entitled "Dream" to help raise funds for construction of the Rainbow House and institution for the orphans of the Great East Japan earthquake. She also collected the 8th Hiroshima Art Prize for her contributions to art and for peace that she was awarded the year prior. In January 2012, a Ralphie Rosario mix of her 1995 song "Talking to the Universe" became her seventh consecutive number one hit on the Billboard Hot Dance Club Songs chart. In March of that same year, she was awarded the 20,000 euro Oscar Kokoschka Prize in Austria. From June 19th to September 9th, her work to the light was exhibited at the Serpentine Gallery in London. It was held in conjunction with the London 2012 festival, a 12-week UK-wide celebration featuring internationally renowned renowned artists from Midsummer's Day to the final day of the Paralympic Games on September 9th. On September 9th, uh, This album, Yoko Kim Thurston, was also released in 2012, featuring a collaboration with Thurston Moore and Kim Gordon of Sonic Youth All Music. Uh, yeah, Sonic Youth. That's where they came from. These guys came from Sonic Youth. Uh, Thurston Moore and Kim Gordon. They're from this group called Sonic Youth, I think. They're from this group that's been around since the early '80s. Sonic Youth. That's Kim Gordon and that's Thurston Moore and the rest of the band. All Music characterized it as focused and risk taking, and above the rest, not above the rest, above the best of the couple's experimental music with Ono's voice described as one of a kind. On June 29th of 2012, that was Ono receiving a Lifetime Achievement Award. Dr. Dre could have been wanting that back in '92. He could have been wanting that back in '91, '92. But she received it uh in Dublin. She started receiving that at the Dublin Biennial. Why would Ono receive a Lifetime Achievement Award at the Dublin Biennial? During this trip to Ireland, to Ireland, she visited the crypt of an Irish leader named Daniel O'Connell at the Glasnevin Cemetery, and Dunlaugher, and Dunlaugher. That's so that's like for Laos. Dunlaugher. That's what's it. Dunlaugher. That's what it's named. It's from where the Irish departed for England to escape the famine. In early 2013, Ono accepted the Rainier Hildebrand. Was it the Rainier Hildebrand Medal? Oh, she accepted that, huh? Oh, it's at the Berlin's Checkpoint Charlie Museum, and she was awarded. I don't know what happened. This what she went to. Yeah, awarded to her and Lennon for their lifetime of work for peace, and human rights. Uh, the next month, she tweeted. What did she tweet it then? What is she tweeting about? An anti-gun message with the seasoned glass image of Lennon's bloody glass on what would have been her and Lennon's 44th anniversary, noting that guns have killed more than 1 million people since Lennon's death in 1980. She was also given a congressional citation from the Philippines for her monetary aid to the victims of the Typhoon Pablo, as well as her donation to disaster relief efforts to the after the Typhoon Ondoy in 2009. Yeah, the Typhoon Ondoy, that was in 2009, and its assistance of the Filipino school children. In 2013, she and the Plastic Ono Band released an LP called Take Me to the Land of Hell, which featured numerous guests, including Yuka Honda, Cornelius, Hirotaka, Shimizu, Migu's Yuko Araki, Wilco's Nels Klein, Tune Yards, Questlove, Lenny Kravitz, and Ad Rock, and Mike D of the Beastie Boys. Uh, in June of that year, she she curated she had curated the Meltdown Festival in London, where she had played two concerts with the band, and the second on backing vocals of Sioux Sue was it Sioux rendition of Walking on Thin Ice. Was it Susie Sue's? rendition of Walking on Thin Ice. Oh, that's at the Double Fantasy show in July. OR Books published the Ono sequel in 1960 to 1964's. Oh yeah, the old book. OR Books. Why would they have to publish Ono sequel to 1964's Grapefruit? That would be another book. That was of what? Instruction based action poems. This time entitled Acorn. Her online video is called for like what? Bad Dancer. That's that. Why the video gotta be out online? Bad Dancer. In late 2013, it got released, which that features some of these guests. Those guests was like well liked. Well, the press had well liked them. The press, they were well liked. They were well liked by the press. Oh, I did not know the guests were there. The press kind of loved them. By the end of the year, she had become one of the three artists with those two songs in the it's in the top 20 dance club for those two consecutive number one hits on the Billboard's Hot Dance Club play charts. That was on the strength of the singles like "Hold Me." David Aldi was already in this single. He was in the song and "Walking on Thin Ice" and the then 80-year-old beat. The 80-year-old beat. You know what I mean? Katy Perry, there's Katy Perry. It's Katy Perry, I think was her name. Let's push the picture. Katy Perry, uh, Robin Thicke, you know, this guy probably related to Ellen Thicke. I don't much even know. Let's see. Let's check with Robin. He probably kin to Ellen Thicke. I don't even know. Well, I, he's not even related to Ellen Thicke. So that's Robin Thicke. He was like the only Thicke who was doing the singing. Okay, the then 80-year-old the then 80-year-old beat. Yeah, that's what it's the then 80-year-old beat. Katy Perry, Robin Thicke, and her friend Lady Gaga. 2014, Angel was Ono's 12th number one on the dance chart. Let's go get longer than this. It could be like nearly over an hour. Yoko Ono Plastic Ono Band continued to perform live into 2015. In early 2016, and on early 2016, Manimal Vinyl released Yes, I'm a Witch Too, which features remixes from Moby Def, Cab for Cutie Sparks, and Mike Snow. There's always two eyes in Mike. It's like a predecessor. It's like a predecessor, yes. I'm a Witch Too received critical acclaim on February 26, 2016. Oh, Ono was hospitalized. Oh yeah, was rushed to. I mean, Yoko Ono. She was rushed to the hospital for what? After suffering what was rumored to be what? A possible stroke? What was rumored to be a possible stroke that she was hospitalized for? It was later announced that she was experiencing extreme symptoms, extreme symptoms of the flu. On September the 6th of that year, secretly, Canadian announced that they would be reissuing 11 of Ono's albums from the 60s to the 80s, unfinished music, number one, Two Virgins through Star Piece. In December of that year, Billboard magazine named her the 11th most successful dance club artist of all time. In October 2018, Ono released Warzone, which included new versions of previously recorded tracks, including Imagine. Yoko Ono was among hundreds of artists whose material was reportedly destroyed in the 2008 Universal fire. Oh, there goes all Tupac. There goes all the memorabilia of Tupac. There's his memorabilia being taken, being burned in the fire. That's gone. All the memorabilia that had the name Tupac. That's gone. Her material, Yoko's material, is gone too. It's burnt. That material is burnt, along with Tupac's material, along with all the material that belonged to Tupac. That's burnt. That's gone. Yoko's material and memorabilia is gone too. It's burnt. In a piece what is in a piece for the New Yorker, published in late 2021, it was noted that Ono had withdrawn from the public life, with her son Sean, well, now acting as the public representative for the family's interest in the business of the Beatles. I gotta go through this bullshit too. Let me go on to the top before I had to go to part two. Hold on. Let me go to the top before I had to end this bitch. Get the part two in. Fuck. Oh fuck. Let me go to the top. God damn it. Okay, we're going up to the top. Yoko Ono is a Japanese multimedia artist, singer, songwriter, and peace activist. Her work also encompasses performance art, and filmmaking. Ono grew up in Tokyo and moved to New York City in 1952 to join her family. She became involved the with New York City's downtown artists scene in the early 1960s, which included the Fluxus Group, and became well known. In 1969, she married English musician John Lennon of the Beatles. John Lennon of the Beatles, when she married him, whom she would subsequently record with as a duo. The couple used their honeymoon as a stage for public protests against the Vietnam War. She and Lennon remained married until he was murdered in front of the couple's apartment building, the Dakota, on the 8th of December of 1980. Together, they had one son, Sean Taro Ono Lennon, who later also became a musician in his own right. Ono began a career in popular music in 1969, forming the Plastic Ono Band, with Lennon and producing a number of avant-garde music albums in the 1970s. She achieved commercial and critical success in 1980 with the chart-topping album Double Fantasy. The chart-topping album Double Fantasy, a collaboration with Lennon that was released 3 weeks before his murder, winning the Grammy Award for Album of the Year. To date, she has had 12 number one singles on the US dance charts, and in 2016 was named the 11th most successful dance club artist of all time by Billboard magazine. Many musicians have paid tribute to Ono as an artist in her own right, as a muse and icon, including Elvis Costello, the B-52s, Sonic Youth, and Meredith Monk. As Lennon's widow, Ono works to preserve his legacy. She funded the Strawberry Fields Memorial in Manhattan's Central Park, the Imagine Peace Tower in Iceland, and the John Lennon Museum in Saitama, Japan, which was closed in 2010. First of all, yeah, in Saitama, Japan. That's where it came from, in Saitama. That's what the name of the town is. Uh, she has made she has made significant philanthropic contributions for to the arts, peace disaster relief in Japan and the Philippines, and such other causes. In 2002, she had inaugurated a biennial $50,000 Lenin Ono Grant for Peace. In 2012, she received the Dr. Rainer Hildebrandt Human Rights Award and co-founded a group against what was it? What was it? The group Artists Against Fracking. God, let me see. I want this whole hit. Let me go. I'll get to the artwork. Uh, it's to be continued, folks. Hold on. Oh, it's like to be continued now. I gotta go do part two of it now anyway. Shit.